my brain fog set in. I went from having 8-9 hour days where I was super productive for that full day to less than 2 hours of productivity. Literally lost my brain. It felt like I had Alzheimer's at a very young age. It was horrible.
What would you say is one of the biggest pieces of advice that you could give to our listeners to take away from today's episode with?
There's never going to be a right time to invest in your health, but really at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, none of that really matters.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the 1% Podcast, where I'm your host, Vin, and
I'm Shane.
And today we're joined by our friend Amanda. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Guys and gals, we have a phenomenal episode coming up. Amanda has an incredible story, a phenomenal testimony about how she has been able to transform her life from somebody who had zero energy, zero capability to get things done, and all of a sudden she is a performance machine. What changed? Well, you're going to have to tune in to listen to that because she's got the roadmap and the blueprint to where you are and where you need to be if you want to perform at a level like her. She's also going to get into a few of the issues and a lot of the benefits in her industry specifically. Now, I'm not going to reveal that. She'll tell you about it in a minute. But she is going to come with all the heat today, guys. She has all of the answers. Well, at least what I think. She's going to have all the answers about how you're going to be able to improve your life, take your health to the next level, because we all know health is the greatest wealth, and she's got all of the wealth that you can need and more. So let's dive in right here, right now on the 1% Podcast. All right, so Amanda, can you tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, and what you're building?
Yeah. I am a functional medicine and nutrition practitioner. I help people not only heal their bodies from the inside out, but then optimize them. And I take a root cause approach. So we're looking at what's actually going on inside of your body, being able to uncover what are those hidden stressors, and then really be able to uproot those so that people are no longer just managing their symptoms, but they're actually mastering their body's systems.
I love that. I've come to find, doctors and the whole field of medicine nowadays, it's not only very reactionary, but it's also kind of lacking knowledge. You go to a doctor who's a generalist, you tell him some general symptoms, and he's just like, here, take this general medication. And what you're doing is very much more pointed, right? Can you explain a little bit of that process? Because I'm all in on what you're doing. I believe it's 10 times better than modern medicine, but obviously everybody do what they want. So Amanda, you tell us a little more.
Yeah. So not only in Western medicine is there the generalized approach, but doctors actually get paid more to specialize. And so oftentimes you go to the general doc and then they send you out to someone else. And the problem is that our body's interconnected. So it's really important to actually look at the body as a whole. And that's what we do in functional medicine. So I'm looking at how does your gut talk to your hormones, talk to your brain, talk to all your detoxification systems? How does that integrate into your nervous system? And what are the symptoms actually telling us? The symptoms are just signals. They're messengers telling us, hey, there's something else going on that's deeper rooted. And so what I do is I uncover what's going on. We do stool testing, urine testing, blood work, all of that, sometimes even a cheek swab for saliva, right? To really see what is going on inside your body. And then from there, we can systematically and strategically create a roadmap through nutrition, through supplementation, through proper lifestyle integration to get your body back into a place where it's coming into harmony.
Do these things, after you get those test results, do you find that with a more pointed, specific approach, do these things tend to have a better turnaround? Like if you're saying, hey, I'm going to put you on this protocol and you're going to be doing X, Y, and Z for, this period of time. Have you seen that there maybe is usually a certain period of time that people respond to it, or is it super individualistic?
Yeah, so we'll just take a gut test, for example. So we run a gut test and someone comes in, they're like, hey, I'm bloated, I'm constipated, and my brain, it feels a little bit foggy. So oftentimes people will just say, okay, just take some HCl, like you just need some digestive enzymes. That's going to help everything out. When really there's so much more that could be going on inside the gut. You could have a parasite, you could have a pathogen, you could have, yes, digestive insufficiency, but is it connected to the pancreas or another part of your body? There could be fat malabsorption, or there could just be an overgrowth of bad bacteria. And so each of those needs a different pointed approach. The same 5 people could come to me, or 5 different people could come to me with the same exact symptoms. And if we gave them a generic, hey, this is what your gut needs, then it likely will not actually heal them. So then 2 months later, they could be coming back to me, Amanda, nothing's changed. Whereas when we do specific testing, we're able to uncover what's actually going on inside the gut. Then we are able to have a more pointed approach that allows people to not only feel their best, but then look their best.
I think my biggest thing, because I'm a stubborn, red-blooded American that only does something for so long. Let's say I did all these testings, and we find the perfect, let's just say, medication for right now, because I still feel like we need to talk about what specifics it is. The last thing that I want to do is take a handful or 2 handfuls of pills every single day because I'm vitamin B deficient, vitamin D deficient. I need to do this. I need to have this in my protein shake every day. I need to eat a certain lifestyle, which I think it's phenomenal to be healthy, but is there like the American way? Is there a way to do it fast? Or is there a way to do it not every single day? Or is it just to get you back on track to actually stay healthy, be healthy? And it's like, okay, these are the foods you should really stay away from because it causes your body to do X, Y, and Z. So can you elaborate a bit more on, I guess, the process? Because I'm very curious.
Yes. My question to you is, do you want a Band-Aid fix, or do you want something that's going to be lifelong transformation, integration into your life? And that's
Band-Aid,
where
of course.
What?
Yeah.
Band-Aid, of course.
I feel like the easy answer, of course, would be like, I want a long-term solution and longevity, but knowing my stubbornness, like I know I'm supposed to take certain pills every single day and I just don't do it. I just feel like I forget, or I hate taking pills. That's just me personally. My wife is a completely different human being. Like she takes like these 8 pills at night and like 4 in the morning, and she's very structured and it's a certain way. So maybe it's rewiring of the brain that just needs to happen.
Well, are there systems and structures that you have in your business that you don't like to do, but you need to do? Because when you do them, that's when you see the most success.
Touche.
Ooh,
Yeah.
got you.
No, it's a good solid point.
Likely the first step is awareness. Once we have that awareness, we could actually then, yes, rewire, reframe. And there are ways that we can get those certain foods in through nutrition. We don't have to over supplement. That's why it comes down to whole foods. Like, what whole foods are going to help move this micronutrient the most? What's going to move the needle the most for you? And once we hit on the nutrition, then we can identify, okay, what kind of, if it's not what you're consuming, it's what you're missing. So then that's when we add in the supplementation, and it's meant to layer into a way where it becomes subconscious. And so you're not even thinking about it. Like, I don't even think about it anymore when I go to grab my supplementation for myself every single day. And I actually feel worse on the days that I forget to do those things that have just become integrated into my lifestyle, and knowing how much more productive, how much quicker my brain functions when I am fueling my body for performance. I look at it through that lens rather than thinking about, oh, it weighs me down to take all these supplements.
I don't think I've heard of like personal trainers saying you should eat healthy, right? Stick to a diet, stick to these certain things, go keto and stop eating these kind of things. But for actually taking a full-blown panel, seeing what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, what you are missing, that actually sounds like something I would be into. Of you need to eat more of this, and then and you should stay away from this because it's affecting your body a certain way. comparatively to just kind of throwing darts in and just assuming that, hey, you shouldn't eat a cheeseburger in here on a daily basis. Like, oh, yeah, no, I definitely know that. So what is the actual solution here? Is it, because I know peptides are really big right now, is it mainly a mix of peptides and supplements? Is it really like the foundation of this?
There's so many pieces into what's actually going to create a really healthy, thriving individual. I don't believe in guessing. I mean, my background was a CPA. I was working in private equity. So I'm very data driven, very much. I want to see, I want to test. I don't want to guess what's going on inside your body. And so having the right data to know what does Shane specifically need, what does Vin specifically need, then we're able to create those foundations. I always believe the foundations are proper hydration, proper nutrition, how much are you moving your body, what's your mindset like. Once we have those, then we're able to layer in, okay, these are the supplements that you need. And then that's when we are able, after that, to layer in something like peptide therapy. And peptides are only going to be as effective as your body is primed for them. So it's likely that if you've tried peptides and you've had a negative response or no response at all, it's because your body actually has some healing work to do before the peptides will be ready to receive them. And so oftentimes, like, for example, myself, I went through 18 months of healing. I was really, really sick, really dismissed by Western medicine. That's how I got into this whole field. And it wasn't until my gut had fully healed and I was ready to get back to a place of optimization that my body was primed for peptides. And so they're a tool, they're a great resource, but only when done correctly.
What I'm curious, because nowadays everybody has peptides. I could probably get peptides from the deli down the block if I needed to. So
I hope not.
what do you see? What do you see as like one of the biggest issues in your field currently? Obviously, there's a lot of oversaturation, but of course, there's different grades of peptides, different types of qualities, different ways to understand people's bodies. Can you shed some light on the darker truths for people that may not understand what's going on and that might be getting themselves into a worse situation so that, of course, we can push them to you instead of going to the deli?
Yeah, please don't go to the deli unless you want a negative feedback loop in your body, right? And things might get a little bit worse in a few months from now. Yeah, so with peptides, as I said, like they're only going to work to the extent that your body is primed for them. And there's different uses and different purposes for all of them. I see that people are giving themselves a way too big of doses, that people are not doing the right cycling on and off, meaning, okay, I'm going to go on this one for this specific amount of time, then I'm actually going to come off for this amount of time. Everyone's body responds differently. So being able to know how much do you actually need, how long do you need to go on it, what is the proper amount of stacking, and is your body actually ready to receive the peptides? That's really important. And peptides are a specific signaling mechanism. So each peptide has a very unique reason to be entering into your body. For example, there's a peptide called epithalin. This impacts your pineal gland, which is in charge of your circadian rhythm. And so just to show how unique they are, it reset my circadian rhythm and brought my restorative sleep from 48% to 60% in 3 days. The average American, their restorative sleep is somewhere between 35 to 45%. So my restorative sleep was already phenomenal. And that specific peptide brought it up that much. So that's to say that the quality of what I was doing was really high for the peptides that I use. I was doing the right dosing for it. There's a very specific protocol for that. And my body was primed for it because I had already done the work for the past 18 months to get it to a place where peptides would really take me to the next level.
There's also some negative effects too. Like if you're taking, let's just say on extremist, HGH, and you have something like a condition, like I just talked to one of my employees who's been taking HGH. He wants to bulk up, obviously, but he had cancer 2 years ago. And if that cancer is not fully eliminated from your body, just that bad pathogen in your body could actually grow internally. And there's a lot of other cases like that too. I think the easiest answer is, and unfortunately I'm living proof of this as I was talking to Amanda earlier, why would you inject something in your body if you don't know exactly, one, if you need it, two, how much you need of? It's pretty simple. But once again, I feel like the American Band-Aid approach is, oh, well, they told me to do this and this. So I think you should do things the right way.
And getting, especially, you make a really great point about growth hormone and with the bad cells that could be in your body. And that's why it's really important. Most general blood work does not test for your growth hormone. Any male that I put on a testosterone or any other kind of growth hormone, we are going to test your IGF levels if you're working with me to any extent, because it's really important that it remains within this certain threshold for men and a certain threshold for women. That is crucial to making sure that we're doing this safely.
So I'm curious too, because I don't want to glaze past it. I think there's so much more here that we don't understand yet. You mentioned a bit about your personal story, and much like most people that get into the wellness field, myself included, it's because we had something that we had to figure out and nobody else was. And it sounds like that's what it kind of came down to for you. But I would love to hear more of the personal story of like, what was Amanda's journey as to why this makes sense? You know, I would think for people to really hear your testimony is going to be extremely important too. If there's somebody who's considering like, how can I improve my health? Well, who better to hear it from than somebody that's been there?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to share. So I grew up playing every sport. I was a dancer. I went and danced for Penn State in college. It was one of the top programs in the country. Really was performing and competing at the highest level. From there, I had moved to Dallas, Texas, and was a finalist for the Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. So I looked like the epitome of health, right? And 2 months after my finals performance, all of a sudden, my energy just dropped out of nowhere. I was in my mid-20s and I thought, my energy should not be dropping. I'm fueling my body. I'm training. I'm hydrating. I'm doing all the right things. I'm sleeping. Yeah, no, something is not okay. And so it was at this point in time that I started paying a little bit closer attention to my biometric data. And so I wear a Whoop every day, and it tracks something called your heart rate variability. This is a marker telling your nervous system pretty much how balanced and ready your nervous system is to take on the day. It's like a stress marker. The higher, the better. And my HRV was in the 90s, and overnight it plummeted down to the 60s. So that was the very first sign that I noticed. That was the leading indicator that something was not okay. And I'd gone to a doctor and was pretty much dismissed, likely because the doctor had no clue what HRV was. They're not trained on what that is, so I don't hold it against them. But that's when I started digging. My energy starts plummeting, right? And soon after that, my brain fog set in. And I went from having 8-9 hour days where I was super productive for that full day to less than 2 hours of productivity in a day. It was absolutely awful. I kind of, at that point, began isolating because I couldn't think clearly. Literally lost my brain. It felt like I had Alzheimer's at a very young age. It was horrible. And so about 3-4 months into that, I had gone from doctor to doctor to doctor. I even had gone back to a naturopathic doctor and was still pretty dismissed because I still looked fine. And a few months after that, all of a sudden 35 pounds just piled on top of my body. And for my size, that was a lot of weight. And it was at this time that I said, okay, I need to figure out what's going on. So that's when I was able to find a PA that was willing to help me. And so we ran a bunch of tests. We looked at my gut, we looked at my hormones and what food sensitivities I had. So what my body was having an immune response to at the time. And we found out a whole bunch of things, one of which was I had a bacterial pathogen in my gut. My adrenals were absolutely shot. So my cortisol was through the roof. I had a sluggish thyroid and a handful of other things. And I remember one of the markers was that my estrogen levels were postmenopausal. And I was in my 20s, right? And so I took that into my OBGYN and I said, hey, I got these test results back. Would you mind like taking a look at them? And I said, I'm really concerned about my estrogen. And she said, well, are you trying to get pregnant right now? I said, no, I'm not married. I'm single. I'm not trying to get pregnant right now. And she looked at me and said, well, I'm not concerned about this then. She said, I'm not worried about it. And, you know, probably well-intentioned, but your hormones are for so much more than just fertility.
Yeah.
And so I knew at that moment that was kind of the final straw for me. And I said, okay, if I'm going to heal, it's going to be up to me. And so I decided that day I had to become the CEO of my health. And that's when I did a very deep dive into functional medicine. I ended up then becoming certified, trained under some of the top doctors and dietitians in the space. And that's what led me to develop the program that I have now.
It's amazing. Do you think anybody could benefit from getting their health checked at through functional medicine, or do you think that there are some people it just won't work for?
I believe that those that are ready to invest in their health will benefit from functional medicine because it is not a Band-Aid approach. You have to do the work. You have to be willing to commit to the process. Sometimes it can be painful. Sometimes things might get worse before they get better because there's toxins in our bodies that have to get out. And so it's not easy. But I will say that when people do experience that breakthrough, sometimes they've been struggling for decades. And to be able to see people experience, oh my gosh, I can get off this health hamster wheel and I no longer have to get back on that crazy diet that I was doing. Really, it's primed for people who are ready. I will say that sometimes disease in the body, chronic disease, right? It happens 5, 10, 15, 20 years before it actually presents in the body. And that's what breaks my heart is when people come into me and they're all these chronic problems that they've ignored because they put their health on the back burner for a decade. And when that happens, it's a lot more work. And sometimes that process can be a little bit longer because, you know, you didn't get here overnight. So it's going to take some time. But I believe those that are willing to put in the work can all benefit from functional medicine.
There was a glowing testimony that you had, that you shared, a few months back when we were together. And it was someone who was essentially trying to heal her body. And she was going through, this sickness, right? And you said you have to power through. This is part of it. And it was the same reason, right? Sometimes it's going to get worse before it gets better because you have something in you that needs to get out. And then it was like one day, and then she was just feeling amazing. And then seeing these amazing results, and I think she lost a bunch of weight. And she was now down the path where she was feeling like her prime, optimum self. Can you elaborate a bit more on that? Because I'm sure I'm butchering the testimony, but it was something that stuck with me. And I was like, I feel like something like what you just elaborated on with, this disease and this sickness and this, especially if you're suffering from a chronic illness, the last thing that we want to do is take a gigantic bag of pills, right, every single day with crossing our fingers and hoping it's working, like how we are currently doing it now with the Western medicine. But I thought that personally is what we want, is those end results of just feeling good every single day.
Yeah, I remember the testimony that you're sharing, and I actually had to speak a lot of life into her and say, hey, look, I actually had a weight loss plateau for 76 days. And it wasn't until day 77 that I lost 10 pounds. And it's not because I lost 10 pounds of fat overnight. It's because 10 pounds of water weight inflammation had been holding on until my body was ready to let it go. And so similar for her, this client client had come in. She had been diagnosed with Hashimoto's at a very young age, and it'd been over a decade that she'd probably spent $10,000, $20,000 on testing alone up until this point. And she had gotten the runaround from functional PAs, doctors, you name it. She'd gone and seen everyone. And halfway through our protocol, well, first of all, let me back up. We found out that Hashimoto's wasn't actually the root cause. The root cause was that she had a parasite in her gut, that she had mold toxicity in her body, and that she was deficient in a few micronutrients. So we had to do an entire gut healing protocol. Then we had to help rebuild the gut wall because it had been absolutely torn down over the years. We had to go through a whole mycotoxin phase where we were clearing out all the toxins from her body. It was really important that we did that in the right order. Well, halfway through the protocol, she got food poisoning. And which was really disheartening for her, and it caused a huge flare in her thyroid. And, you know, we just continued to work at it, continued to work at it, continued to work at it. Once we got through the whole protocol, I remember her like still feeling a bit like, she's like, man, this food poisoning really took me back. I'm like, we're not done yet. We're just getting started, right? And that's when, once we got through the protocol, I was like, okay, you're ready for peptides. And so we integrated peptides into her protocol. And it was not on day 77 for her, but day 78 that she saw breakthrough. And it was cool because I always told her, just the power of one more, just hold on to one more day, just do it for one more day. You're gonna see breakthrough, you're gonna see progress. And I told her, I did the math because it was from the date that she started one of the peptides, and it was 78 days after that. I said, that's the power of one more. You held on one longer day than me. And because of that, your breakthrough has been here. And now she feels better than ever, and we're now getting to a phase where we can really get her to a place of optimization. So she's gone through all the really heavy healing work that her body needed, and now she's like ready to, you know, build more strength in the gym and kind of get herself to that next level.
That's exactly what it is. You're rebuilding. It's like you're starting from the ground levels after all this rigorous testing and well-needed testing to see what the body actually needs. You're rewiring the mind and body to where it needs to be to get them to their optimal state.
Absolutely.
All right. Sign me up. Yeah. That's who doesn't want that, right? Who doesn't want to be at their optimal state of mind every single day?
You know,
right?
I'm so passionate about it too, because I knew what it was like to feel optimal, because I was optimal. I was somehow able to work in a super hard industry and also pursue my dreams to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader at the same time. I was at peak performance and I lost it overnight. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen to many people. Most people, it's a very gradual, subtle, over the years, over decades that this happens. And so I had such a quick contrast that for me, the quality of life, it was so important to get back to that state and then be able to say, you know what, there is hope for you. And who doesn't want to feel their best?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting though. I think a lot of people do get caught up in the time that it takes to do things. Like when I work with clients, there is a gradual progression of what they need to learn about themselves, what kind of information they need in general to act upon, and then what it looks like in an action plan, you know, from there. And it was funny because one of my clients said to me the other day, he's like, I'm so glad that I stuck with this with you. Now we're 3 months in. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, I thought I just got duped into being in therapy. He's like, man, this guy made all these promises and now I have a therapist instead of like a performance coach, right? But now at this 3 month mark, he's starting to see how everything prior to this has been leading up to where we're at right now. And he's like, I'm really glad that I kept an open mind because we're doing exactly what I need. I just thought it needed to happen another way. Do you find that you encounter issues like that too in this, where people are like, how come it's not working fast enough, or shouldn't it have happened this way, right? Like, how do you navigate these expectations with people?
I walk through the trenches with them. That's what I do. All stress to the body, real or perceived, our body experiences it and feels it the same way. And there's always going to be life interruptions that come on. And so knowing that no matter what kind of detours we make along the way, that there's someone there that's right beside them that's saying, hey, I have not been exactly where you've been, but I know what it feels like for your body to break out in hives for a whole month. That's what happened to me when I was really sick. And I pray that that doesn't happen to any of my clients. It hasn't yet. But, you know, when those life interruptions do come in, and it's important to have someone that's right there with you. And going back to stress, right? There's 4 kinds of stress. There's dietary stress. Are you eating the right foods for what your body specifically needs? There's environmental stress. So that's not just like where you're living or how tidy is your home or what kind of toxins are coming in and out. So that could be mold, heavy metals, other environmental toxins, right? There's the physical stress. Are you leading too much of a sedentary lifestyle, or are you active, or are you overtraining? And then there's the emotional stress, right? And so sometimes people come in and really they just need someone to hold space and walk them through a plan that's gonna last them for a lifetime. Some people come in, they're like, just give me the plan, tell me what to do. I'm too busy. I only need to talk to you for 15 minutes every month and I'll just get it all done, right? So everyone's gonna come in needing something different. And so being able to adjust, maneuver, and meet people where they're at, that's, I think, what the most important part of functional medicine, and really knowing that, hey, this is an art just as much as it is a science.
I love it. Well, let me ask you this, Amanda, because we're coming a little close to the end of time here. So I want to make sure that I got the moment for these final questions that I like to ask. You've been through a good journey. You've learned a lot. You now help a lot of people. What would you say is one of the biggest pieces of advice that you could give to our listeners to take away from today's episode with that might be able to help them?
Take inventory of what your body needs. It's really easy to continue to push your health to the back burner. I mean, one thing that I didn't share was that the very first time a doctor ever put a scope down my stomach to like look inside my intestines, I was in high school. So it technically had been a Band-Aid approach for me for over a decade.
Wow.
And had I had the right data, the right resources, the right tools, I probably could have prevented this huge health collapse that I experienced. And there's never going to be a right time to invest in your health. There's probably never, like, you can make those excuses all the time, right? It's so easy to say, oh, I need to invest into this, invest into that, go on this vacation or do whatever. But really at the end of the day, if you don't have your health, none of that really matters. And the amount of people that I see that come in that are able to like invest in their health, that become the CEO of their health. And then at the end of our time together, they say, Amanda, I didn't know I could have this much energy, this much joy. I didn't know, like I've had people that came in that said like, Amanda, it's only because of our work together that I was able to land my dream client, or I was able to get on that stage and really speak. And so that's the transformation that happens when you decide to double down on your health.
Love that. Can't even argue with that. This is the end of the episode, so everybody just go double down on your health. Speaking of which, Amanda, how can people get connected with you and find out more?
Yes, absolutely. So you can find me online. My website is Amanda Soukoulis, SOUKOULIS.com. Find me on Instagram at Amanda Souks, SOUKS. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on TikTok, I'm on YouTube, I'm everywhere. So find me there, book a strategy session with me to at least be able to identify, hey, this is what's going on in my body. I want to be able to uncover what is actually the root cause and stop, just putting a Band-Aid on the symptoms and really learn how to master my body's systems.
I love it. She says a Band-Aid on the symptoms. I like to say putting lipstick on a pig. Don't put lipstick on a pig. Take your body seriously. All right, Amanda, what a phenomenal episode. Thank you for your story, your testimony, your desire to show up and help people live a better life. We really appreciate you showing up today. Everybody, you have to go check out what she's doing. Book that strategy session. Take advantage of it. I know Shane's already sold. I'm pretty sold. I mean, if you're not, then go listen to the episode again because you're clearly doing something wrong. With that being said, though, thank you for coming on, Amanda. We really appreciated it. Please stick around for a minute after the show. We have a few more things to talk about. And you're a great guest, so thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. We covered almost every time zone in the United States of America today.
That's it. We're hitting it. So from around the U.S., this is another episode of the 1% Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you thought of today's episode. How are you taking care of your health? And we'll see you on the next one. As always, guys, I'm your host, Vin End.
And I'm Shane.
And that was Amanda. See you, everybody.
Bye, guys.